I'm really thrilled that Monika Bielskyte has agreed to be on our TV show and that we're lucky enough to have you in Johannesburg. Monika is one of the most brilliant and interesting people I've ever met. She is a futurist. She designs the science fiction worlds for the science fiction shows that we see, and she is just brilliant from head to toe. Everything about you is interesting and engaging. And let's talk about firstly your brand new project.
Thank you so much. Well, that's such a lovely introduction, as always. I love Johannesburg. I love being here. I spent actually most of this COVID pandemic year in South Africa.
You've done some very interesting work, not in the future of sci-fi, but the real world with the city of Mexico. I find that really fascinating that you pointed out all of the things about culture.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, research is really the foundation of my work. And then as a futurist, I do a lot of lectures, talks, and consult companies, but not just kind of tell them, where things are going and kind of just be kind of passive about it, but really think, well, how could we shape the futures, how they could participate in making future a kinder, a more inclusive place.
Indeed.
And I've done a lot of work, mostly with Hollywood productions, in the science fiction realm, actually exclusively science fiction realm. But I got a little frustrated with, on one side, Silicon Valley's love affair with techno-utopianism, and on the other side, Hollywood's love affair with dystopianism.
Indeed.
And for me, this is not a binary. These are not opposites. They're really two sides, reverse sides of the same coin. And so over this pandemic year, I felt like there's this real urgency to craft a new framework for the future. But what do we really want? What is the kind of future we want to see? And how it could be radically hopeful and inclusive in centering previously marginalized perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose if people can envisage another way, if they can visually see another possibility, then they are aware that there is another possibility.
Yeah, I think the problem right now with everything, right, with policy making, with technology, with any kind of sort of sustainability initiatives, is that it's all sort of, bits and pieces.
Yes.
And people are struggling to see, well, what is that whole picture?
Yes.
What a truly regenerative culture could look like. How we could move beyond sort of these, extractive exploitational forms of extreme capitalism.
Yes.
And also, what is that alternative? And I think for that, we absolutely do need to craft these complete visions. And unfortunately, that should be the role of science fiction, but science fiction has been really bad at that. And honestly, for me, it was really kind of Black Panther, the first sign of trying, sort of beginning, by no means a complete vision. And of course, people on the African continent have a lot of critical reading of how sort of different cultures maybe have been jammed together in the film. But I feel it's already a big step to try and imagine the kind of world that we'd be inspired by. So when you sort of leave the movie theater, you're like, oh wow, now I have these amazing ideas, how we could redesign our sort of urban infrastructure, how we could think of technology and tradition and culture and ritual coexisting, how we could think of future human relationships that aren't just about strife and conflict and violence and cruelty, but about collaboration, co-presence, communication. And I think especially coming out of this pandemic, and we're not yet out of it, we need to be inspired.
I totally agree. And what appealed to me about Black Panther was that it presented technology in another way. It wasn't some abstract part. It was just part of the culture. It was very much what it's like to live in Africa.
Yeah, so I think for me what was really key in the world design, and Hannah Beachler's, who's the production designer, brilliant imagination of Wakanda, was to think how a civilization can live in a way in multiple centuries at a time, which is the reality in most parts of the global south, and that is a good thing, right? That's also what creates resilience. Culture should not be homogenous. I think it's really funny to kind of notice that. But there were animals in Black Panther.
Yes.
Try to think of any other science fiction movie where there were animals and they were not some kind of killer robot beasts.
Exactly.
Right? And at the same time, technology and science can coexist with that kind of vision. It can coexist with the ritual. It can coexist with spirituality.
I think to some extent COVID showed us that how much social ability we actually do need, and just what a path of isolation a purely online tech experience is, and that the way we need to interact may have to change. We may have to wait till we all have vaccines, but we're going to start interacting in another way. Why can't it be this new way as envisaged by science fiction for generations?
Absolutely, and we cannot survive just in the concrete jungle. We need the living world. I mean, so many people that would barely ever go out into the nature, would ever hike. I think this has brought us much closer to thinking that, well, it's not just us human animals. It's all of the life, and we need all of it to be well and healthy. And another huge thing, I think, is refocusing on local. Right? When so many supply chains broke down, we're like, well, how do I buy these things from the local farmer? How do I support people from the community? Because those people that will be struggling the most, whereas like massive corporations, right, they're getting all kinds of buyouts and stuff like that. So I feel that kind of refocusing is really, really key. But unfortunately, most of the governments failed their citizens, and we need to really rethink, well, what are, when we talk about science fiction, it's never just about science or technology. It's ultimately about the future structures of power.
Indeed.
Right? And the governance, and what kind of models of governance we want to see in the future tense.
True. Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics are still underpinning, the nascent robotics and AI industry. I wish we could talk all day, but I'm sorry that that's all the time we have. Monika Bielskyte, one of the most brilliant human beings I've ever met. We are very happy that you're stuck with us here in South Africa, and we're going to see much more of you.
Well, I do not feel stuck here. I love being here, and I hope to be coming back more and more.
Great.
Maybe one day even moving here. Let's see how it happens.
Great.
Thanks for watching. Hit the like button below, and please subscribe to our channel so that you can get this stuff while it's fresh. See you soon.